Last month, we had our very first webinar. Did any of you guys see that webinar? No? A couple? Okay, awesome. Well, we had our very first webinar. It was on SEO, and we were super, super proud of it. This month, we have another webinar. We're going to be doing 12 of them throughout the entire year. If you're looking at learning more about AdWords, we have a totally free webinar with 4 unbelievable experts, Mike Rhodes, Brad Geddes, Terry Whalen, and John Rampton. And these guys are not like your typical people that you would see working in a PPC firm. They're actually like world-renowned experts. So definitely, like, we're going to be sending you some information. Make sure to register. If you're not actually able to make it out, we will send you a full recording, and this is going to be next Thursday at 2 o'clock. We also have our second Google Breakfast. We're going to be sending you an announcement on this as well. This is an amazing event. We had a lot of fun last time, and we're going to be doing it all over again. Come on, man. So with this Google Breakfast, it is a free breakfast at Google Canada. It's also going to teach you a lot more on AdWords, remarketing, mobile ads, everything that you need to know about optimizing AdWords. And this is a totally free event. This is at Google Canada. You get free breakfast. You get 2 amazing experts, Matthew Hunt, our COO at Powered by Search, as well as a Google expert at Google Canada. And this is going to be April the 8th at 8:30 to 11. So look forward to that. I hope you can make it all out.
How do you sign up for that?
We're going to be sending you a landing page, and you just enter your information, and we'll make sure to remind you when the actual date happens. We're also doing some hiring. I believe I showed you this slide last month. We actually filled a couple positions, and we got 3 more positions that we're trying to fill. So if you think you got the chops and you'd like to talk to us a little bit more about working at Powered by Search, please come to myself or anyone here that's working at Powered by Search, and we'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So tonight we have John Spenceley. He drove here all the way from Kitchener to talk to you guys. Well, I guess Guelph, Kitchener, I guess the same area.
I started in Kitchener.
He's going to be talking about how to make people laugh for fun and profit. So when he first actually came to me with this talk, I was really, really excited to hear what he has to say, because literally this is exactly what inbound marketing is all about. Giving people information and making it not look like marketing and just making it look human-like. And in turn, you basically gain leads for being a real human being. So I'm really excited to hear what he actually has to talk about. We also have Matthew Hunt giving us some really awesome email marketing hacks on how to optimize your email marketing campaigns. After that, we're going to be doing a quick book giveaway, and then we're going to be doing a little bit of networking. So we might go to a bar or something after to talk some more. So without further ado, let's give John Spenceley, let's give Matthew Hunt, Matthew, you're going first, right? Sure. Let's give Matthew Hunt a big round of applause.
I put this together really quickly today. The inspiration was around my kids. My kids make me laugh. And so this is where it came from. So email blueprint, 6 steps to email success that even a child could follow. So what we're going to get into, what you're going to learn today is we're going to learn why email rocks. So for those that are not doing it, or people who think that email is dead, we're going to get into and talk about, is it really dead or not? We're going to talk about 6 simple steps to marketing success in email. And we're going to talk about how you can make crap loads more money. I got to tell you real quick before this, my first experience with email marketing was in probably 2007 when I was just learning a lot more about digital marketing. And I was selling these POS machines, these ATM machines. And it was a really simple system. I had a CRM, and literally I just put an email in there that basically followed up with people. I think the sequence was like this. They would fill out my form, the next one would say, hey, I got your information, ask them some question. If they didn't respond back right away, I'd have another one that goes out on the 3rd day, the 7th day, the 2nd week, then it would go out once a month for 3 years. And the fucking funny thing is, I would have people 2.5 years later email me back going, oh, I'm ready now to get a Interact machine. Can you help me out? Because my email just simply said, and all it was really simple. It wasn't even like really smart. It just said, hey, we haven't talked, last time I talked to you was in the previous month. I thought I'd check in and see if you're ready to get an ATM machine or an ether. That's all it was. And it was the same message over and over and over again. But it seemed kind of authentic. It's signed off by Matthew Hunt and, you know, the ATM sales rep guy. And it worked. So I'm just telling you right now that whatever you do, just get started and keep it simple and keep it going because it absolutely works, and even today. So a little bit about me. Who's Matthew Hunt? This is me. This is my family. This is the inspiration for this deck. This is my oldest son. He's 7 now. He's Caden. My youngest, Ethan. He just totally cracks me up. He calls himself Ethan River Hunt, Fixer Man, Fireman Hunt is what he tells everyone his name is. Then Logan, my little one here, who likes to pretend that he's Batman. So we see this all the time in the media. It drives me nuts. And, you know, it's really sort of just people trying to work with link bait at the end of the day where you see, like, email is dying or email is dead. And it's something else. Well, that's not really true. Email's not dying. In fact, 81% of all businesses actually use email right now. And it's actually used more than any other marketing medium that they use, more than direct, more than SEO, you know, more than television for sure. I think that comes in at about 10%. So it's absolutely not dead. And, you know, 90 trillion emails are sent per year. Something like, you know, most of the population has an email today. So it's not dead. People are still using email. It's very healthy. It's very growing. So let's get into there. So here's the other thing that other people don't know that I always talk about all the time is, like, marketing is not an event. And I think this is where people really sort of don't understand why email is so important. It's because it's a process. And people usually don't buy from you the first time around. If you can get them on your list by giving them some sort of offer, something really interesting, then we want to continue to keep educating them and working with them so that they become a fan or they trust you to buy from you. But most people don't buy from you the first time they come to your website. In fact, if you're like most websites, I bet you 95% of the people on your website just leave. And then that 5% that you actually get on your list, if assuming that you have a 5% conversion rate, they're not even necessarily going to turn into a sale right away, but we need something automated that we can educate them on and building trust around your business. So marketing is a process, and this is why we need email marketing. Here's step 1. Get an email tool, okay? Here's some of the ones that are pretty familiar that most people use. We use HubSpot, but there's Infusionsoft, there's Aweber, there's MailChimp, there's Constant Contact, there's probably a bunch others. Can anybody else shout out some other ones that you might use that are not on this list? iContact, Get Response. What was the other one? Yeah, Pardot, yeah. Hey, no problem. Come on in, guys. No problem. Come on in. See if you can find a seat. The point is, there's a ton of them, and some of them, you know, are really inexpensive. Go ahead, have a seat there, man. Yeah, have a seat. Yeah, take it. Hey, how are you? No problem. Point is, just get one. Some are more expensive than others. So even something like MailChimp, I know has, like, it's free to get started. I don't know how many people you can put on your list before they start charging you. Do you know, Joel?
It's like 10,000.
It's like 10,000. So it doesn't even cost you any money. And they have all these great tutorials online. I don't need to show you how to use MailChimp. Just type in MailChimp tutorials and you'll see a ton of them on YouTube. So it's a great tool. And MailChimp usually integrates into all the other great tools that do lead gen, like, you know, Lead Pages and Unbounce and places like that. So that's step 1. So you gotta get some sort of CRM or email autoresponder. Step 2 is get an offer. You gotta have something to offer, and it can't just be buy my shit. It's gotta be something else, right? So think of something of value. We've learned from other, you know, meetups that we had from about Lead Pages, sometimes just a simple checklist is enough. Note that obviously the more offers you have, the more landing pages you have, generally speaking, the chances are you're gonna have better chances of converting more, as well as if you can tailor your offers specific to the different buyer personas that you might have. You know, in our industry, we have so many different buyer personas. You know, you can go right down to the verticals. We can do marketing for lawyers. It's different than marketing for plumbers versus marketing for enterprise type clients. And it doesn't really matter what you're in, but figure out the offer that's appropriate to that, send some traffic to it, and then get them into your email autoresponder. Okay, step 3. This is, pretty simple stuff. This is what I said. It's child's play here. Send some emails, okay? You don't have to set up 3 years with the emails to begin with, but why don't you just even start with, getting the first 14 or so set up, the first 10, and you can build off that as you go. This is very true. Email marketing has 2 times higher ROI than, your cold calling or networking and trade shows. So put it to use, as well as it leverages your time. So set up those emails. They don't have to be fancy. Like I told you as my example, my first experience, and it would still work today. I literally just had one email every 30 days to say, hey, we haven't talked in 30 days. Thought maybe we might want to talk. And people who are ready put up their hand and email you.
So Matthew, you're not offering them, there's no offer for them to buy anything, you're just giving them some kind of information?
You know what, that's great. If I was that smart back then, I wish I had thought about doing something like that. I wasn't that savvy with my marketing, but today, if you could give them, some education where you could build some trust with your buyers, you're probably going to convert more. So if you could give them something of value, now you don't want to give it away. The idea is you give something of value, but it's always just a little bit incomplete, so that they have to hopefully use your services or your product or opt into the next item. Now, when it comes into email marketing, it's really important that you personalize your emails. And I mean by personalization, not even necessarily by, making it seem like it's a real person instead of just being like, hey, like a lot of times there's a lot of email that's worked really well where it says, if you're interested, reply now. And there's an actual real name there of a real person. It's not like the sales team, something's a little bit more personalized. Also, personalization of even offering to, get on the phone or pick up the phone. Segmentation is important too, that you're also making sure that you're sending offers that are appropriate to the list. A lot of these tools will allow you to segment your list, even based down on how active they are or what they've done. In HubSpot, we can score them. A lot of tools you can score the people that are on your list, and you can send offers that are appropriate, or even if you ask them, what is it that you want to know more about, and survey them in some way, send them exactly what it is they want. So a lot of times they'll tell you. So try and personalize your emails. We talked with just a minute ago about education. So I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name of who it was, but it's off my mind right now. But he talked about all the time, this is one way to beat your competitors, not by having more money, but spending more time being committed to your audience and who they are and educating them. Everybody knows Gary Vaynerchuk here now at this point. Amazing to see what he did before he moved into sort of consulting of social media. But prior to that, he had the wine store, and it was amazing, just that communication and passion about his product and communication with people. So educate them around it. And the other thing that I always find that's always amazing is people seem to be scared to email. Like if you just want to make more money, 9 times out of 10, you just need to email more. Now, I'm not saying spam the crap out of your list and email them 3 times a day or once a day, but a lot of times when I do an audit on someone's account, very often they're not emailing them enough, or they're not trying to reactivate people who are dead. And so go for the downsell or the cross-sell on a product, or ask them flat out, like, why didn't you buy from me? And then make it a survey based on conditional logic. So depending on what they say, there might be another offer. If they say, oh, it was too expensive. Oh, it was too expensive? Well, right now, it just so happens we have a discount. We're willing to sell it to you for less. Oh, I didn't really know how to use the tool. Oh, by the way, we offer one-on-one demos. Would you like to schedule a one-on-one demo, right? So you can be logical about it that way. Step 5, here's the thing about emails is we want to make them visual, so design them well. The great thing about tools like MailChimp is they come with beautifully designed, responsive visuals that are in there. Just note that you don't want an email that has usually, and again, split test this, not all this they're saying, that's just tons and tons of content. Keep it short, make it offer, make it impactful, but generally speaking, visuals work better. Our brain just processes it better that way. And the other note is, today's environment, so many people are on our phones, and not having your email responders where they're responsive and mobile friendly is a big mistake. So keep them there. Make sure your tool is doing that for you well there. Here's step 6. Test. Make sure that you're just not sending an email and not testing it. Test your subject lines. Test the content that's in it. Test email offers. And even the images as well that are in it. Now, you can't test all those things at once. It's usually pretty difficult to do, but pick one to work with. You can start with subject lines. Usually subject lines are the best way to start because you want to get the open rate. So if there's somewhere that starts kind of like the headline. If you're going to test something on a landing page, it's either the offer or the headline first. In this case, in the email, I would start with testing your subject lines is where you'd want to start first. Those are the 6 steps. Yeah, it looks like you have a question.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and back to MailChimp, you know,
Yeah.
the freebie part of it.
Yeah.
You can actually, they'll test it for you. You can actually say test this, and they'll send it the 2 emails, and you give them 4 hours, and they'll give you the email.
They'll even tell you the one that's working.
That's
And will they even optimize to the one that's working where it changes it automatically? Can you set a rule like that?
Yeah, I haven't done that part of it, but you can certainly 4 hours. It'll tell you which one's going to.
There's so much
do
cool
better.
stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. We should get some stocks in MailChimp.
So,
You're gonna have affiliate link where
They
you
won't tell you what to
have
buy. They won't
What's-
tell you what to buy.
They won't tell you what to
No,
buy.
they will tell you what to buy.
It'll tell you what to buy too.
What stock to buy.
What stock? Right. Okay.
You mentioned earlier about not giving away too much free stuff when you're giving away educational information, right?
So it's not that you don't want to give away free stuff. Just make sure that it's somewhat. You don't want to give away all your stuff. They got nothing to buy. It's got to be incomplete a little bit.
I guess my question was because this comes from Evan Pagan,
Right.
David D'Angelo. He said
Sure.
give away your best content so that people think, oh, if the free stuff is this good,
Sure.
I wonder how good the paid stuff is.
Yeah.
So what's your thought on that?
That's like Frank Kern and all these guys do the product launch formula type stuff. Absolutely, they give away all this great, valuable content that it's so amazing that the buyer ends up thinking, holy shit, if this is what I'm getting for free, imagine what I'm going to get when I actually pay my $1,000 for this product or whatever it is, right? You'll find that stuff a lot more often in sort of when they're doing product launches. And if you have a service or a product, yeah, you want to follow a formula. Does everyone know what a product launch is? Product launch formula by Jeff Walker. Who doesn't know what that is? Put your hands up. Okay, get the fuck out of here. No, I'm kidding. No, you don't have to leave. I'll tell you what it's about. And I'm not going to charge you $2,500 that it costs to do it. It's really simple. Basically, it's like setting up movie trailers for your product. Like, we don't release a movie and go, hey, there's a new movie out. There's like interviews, there's, commercials, and starring this. So it's the same thing with your product. You don't just release a product ever. You say, hey, in 6 weeks, I got this really cool product. Or what these guys even do, they even start polling their guys in advance going, hey, what do you guys want to know? Oh, that's what you want to know? And they find out, oh shit, this is what they want to buy. Okay, well, let's give them what they want to buy. And then they start going, okay, so we're going to release this product. In 6 weeks, it's going to teach you about this and this and this. And then it starts getting there. And then they start going, but before we do, we want to show you this really cool thing in advance. And then, by the way, next week I'm going to show you another cool thing. And then the week after that, I'm going to show you another cool thing and another cool thing. And then on the 6th week, we're going to open it up, but it's only going to be open up until we sell this many, right? And once this many are sold, I'm sorry, we're shutting it down. It's over. You can't get it again until we release it again next quarter or next year because we do the same thing over. And of course, there's something brand new about this product that we need to know, which really doesn't exist. But you get the idea. That's the product launches. You got to warm up your audience to sell it to them. Who here who sells right now sells like who releases new products or services in their business or someone's business? Okay. Are you warming up your audience that something's coming? Sometimes. That'd be a huge win for you to do. It's just every time you have something, find an angle that can warm them up about the product afterwards. But really good point. So now that's the 6 steps, and this is my son's as well too. But when you're in doubt, just be Batman. If you need to get in touch with me or have more questions about email marketing, you can reach me at Powered by Sloths. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the intro. So quick question, how many people here are, speaking of surveys, how many people here are actively surveying your own customer base on a reasonably regular basis? Sweet, I want to talk to you guys afterwards because that's my Q1 project and I don't know what I'm doing. So that's excellent. So my talk tonight is called Making People Laugh for Fun and Profit. I structured this like an episode of This American Life. So there's 3 stories, each one vaguely related to the same topic, which is email. And so to give you a little bit of background on myself, my name is John Spenceley. I'm the community marketing manager at Vidyard. I graciously asked one of our graphic designers to turn me into a cartoon a while ago, and I use it for everything because it means no matter how much my appearance changes, I can just use the same thing for my social networks, and it doesn't matter. I can get bigger, I can get smaller. That doesn't change. You can find me on Twitter at John Spenceley. I also write a ton for our blog. If you've ever interacted with any of our social channels, that's me as well. So very broad sort of skill set, but somehow I ended up writing all the emails for Vidyard, and so that's what we're going to talk about. Agenda for today, it's going to be fun. We use humor quite a bit in our emails, sometimes in places you least expect it. One of the questions that we always get is, how do you make something that's not the most exciting of topics funny? And I actually have an example of that, which is weird. So I have 3 email campaigns I'm going to talk about. I'll talk a little bit about why we decided to do the campaigns the way we did, what set them apart from our usual, more boring email campaigns, and some of the results and lessons learned. I have a lot of stats on the emails themselves. The lessons learned are really qualitative. They're just cool things that we've picked up about email. For the record, for the folks who said they were interested in learning about Castle, I am going to disappoint you because I don't talk about Castle at all. But it's something that we're still navigating as well. If you want to talk about it to me about it afterwards, I'm more than happy to chat. Come on in. I think there's a seed somewhere. Or not. So to give you a bit of background, it's the only slide that I have on what we do. Vidyard is a video hosting and analytics company, so we help companies host their video. We track individual viewer metrics on who's watching it. If you come to our site and watch one of our videos, we'll know if you watched 30 seconds, a minute and a half, etc. Our mission statement, of course, is to help companies drive revenue through the use of online video. So a lot of the things that we talk about and all of the emails you're going to see relate to video. To give you some background on how we have been sending out our email campaigns, we are a Salesforce customer. When I joined the company, all our contacts were stored in Salesforce. We used a product called Kazumi to push that data into MailChimp, and then I used a Google Calendar to schedule all of our nurture tracks. And then MailChimp would push the data back to Kazumi and then back into Salesforce twice a day.
Nice.
Every single time Kazumi pushed data into MailChimp, it created a campaign. Every time MailChimp pushed data back into Salesforce, it created another campaign. By the time I was finished our first nurture tracks, we had over 300 campaigns. It was not a good system. So we still have Salesforce, but now we have Pardot. And as you can see, Salesforce integrates very nicely with Pardot because you can't download the Pardot logo anymore without getting the Salesforce one pushed next to it. So it has simplified things quite a bit. How many folks here are using a marketing automation system, just out of curiosity? Okay, a good few, excellent. So a lot of the stuff that I talk about, you can definitely do in a product like MailChimp. It just gets a little bit more complicated. We went with a product like Pardot, marketing automation system, because we were sending so many scheduled emails. We meet a lot of people at events. We talk to a lot of people at trade shows. We have a lot of inbound content that people sign up for, and then we want to send them more content afterwards. And that, obviously, with the MailChimp system was getting very, very ungainly, which is not to knock MailChimp because it is still my favorite email editing tool ever. And so, first campaign that I want to talk about is called Make Forrester Fun. Everyone here is sort of Forrester research, I take it. Some of the sort of bigger concepts of Forrester, they are the industry leader in doing these amazing analyst reports. They put out these things called Forrester reports. They are obscenely expensive. This is one of the this is actually the most recent campaign that we're working with them. If you wish to read this paper and you're not a Forrester customer, it costs $2,500. So we decided to sponsor a Forrester report, which is a very cool thing that you can do. It's an executive Q&A, so basically they got a round table of people that make way more money than I do, and ask them questions about what's called personalized video. And personalized video doesn't mean adding somebody's information to a video. I actually have a slide that talks about that later. Personalized video is the concept that when somebody hits your site, pretend you're an insurance company. If you work for an automotive company and you work for a painting company and you work for a fast food company, you're going to see content related to your industry because there's a predictive model behind that knows where you work, either because you've already visited the website, whatever it happens to be. So we don't do any of the personalized video stuff. We do the hosting and the analytics. How you choose to use your personalized video is up to you, but it was a cool report. Forrester is a very cool company to work with, and this one was much more reasonable. It's only $500 if you wish to download it, so reasonable. But so we decided to sponsor this paper and make it available to our communities for free. All they had to do was sign up for it. If you've already filled in your information, you could actually just go straight and download it. But we wanted to blast this out to a wide network of leads that we have. And so we kind of sat down and asked ourselves, who's our audience for this? And we realized with personalized video, it's people like me. I'm on our marketing team. I do a lot of email development. I have to justify to my boss that this technology or this idea is very, very cool. But I don't have $500 to pay for the report because they would get mad at me. And so why would people not want to get this? Because it's not in their budget. They're not sure if the technology is right for them, which means they're not going to want to spend $500 to get it. And nobody wants to piss off their CFO by asking for $500 to download a report. And so we started spitballing ideas around at a meeting of how we were going to promote this thing. And we settled on the idea that nobody wants to piss off their CFO, which led us to an idea. So we put together this ad. This is a Facebook ad. This is the only time that I will talk about something that isn't an email, and it's because it inspired the email that went with it. Forrester reports ain't cheap. We made our CFO angry so you don't have to. Access the course report of power personalized video for free, and then a download button. But then we got thinking. Come on, you can do it. We have a CFO. His name's Matt. He's very nice. He smiles more often than not, except in this picture, which was made for our website. You know when you hover over people's team pages, there's like the real picture and then the funny picture? This was his funny picture. And so we made this ad. And it worked really well on Facebook. So our social results, we did social retargeting on this. The normal ad had a click-through rate of 0.35%, which in reality is abysmal, like 0.35% of people. But for Facebook ads, that's amazing. But Angry Matt had 0.53, and I realize this looks cheesy that I just flipped the numbers, but I swear these are all real numbers. And Angry Matt actually had 46% more conversions. So apparently people who were primed with a picture of Angry Matt, once they hit the landing page, were more excited to download this report. So this got us thinking on the subject of emails. We try to have a little bit of fun with our emails whenever we can. And this is one of those weird opportunities where we get to take something that isn't generally funny and maybe make it that way. And so this was the email that we put together based on the first social ad. Real results, personalized video. It's very straightforward. You know the value of providing prospects with the right content, blah, blah, blah. The subject line was increased click-through rates and page conversions with personalized video. Then we made this email, which is basically the Facebook ad that I just talked about. Subject line was, we made our CFO angry so you can increase click-through rates, page conversions. We have a picture of Matt looking really bitter in that. And lo and behold, if I can get this thing to work, the Angry Matt email actually blew the first one out of the water. So there's two things we tested here. I'm always an advocate of testing one thing at a time. If you're going to test the subject line, have the same email and make sure that your open rate is based exclusively on your subject line. If you're going to test the click-through rate, don't test the subject line. See how people react just to the one change. But we tested two things at a time. And interestingly enough, the open rate was significantly higher. And so was the click-through rate on it, actually much higher than what we're used to even. And this email went out to just our general sort of lead pool. So these are people that don't generally engage with our content. The folks that do, our sales team talks to them, we talk to them on our marketing team. I also run all of our partnerships. A lot of those are marketing agencies, video producers. Those are folks that I interact with one-on-one. This email went out to people that we don't talk to on a regular basis, and more importantly, don't talk to us on a regular basis. So the Angry Matt email swept the board. It turns out, if you want to make a joke out of your CFO, and for the record, he was not happy about this. He got retargeted by his own ad and literally stood up, pointed at me and said, "You," and I just ran. I was like, no, now Matt's actually angry, which doesn't happen very often, except for that picture and when he noticed it on Facebook. But the moral of this story is we always kind of advocate to people that you can have fun no matter what your audience is and no matter what the product is that you're trying to get out the door. And what was interesting about this was humor really does work sometimes. This could have also gone really, really poorly. And that was part of the reason we tested it on Facebook first. We find Facebook for us has a really great conversion rate. It's very unusual. I don't know why B2B works so well on Facebook, but it does. And so we tested it on Facebook first. We got sort of that backbone to say okay, cool, let's try this in an email. And we split it 50-50. So thousands of people got the normal email, thousands of people got the Angry Matt email. Always test your subject lines. That was something that you had mentioned. Subject line is the easiest thing in the world to test. Even if we hadn't had Angry Matt in the email, just saying we made our CFO angry so you don't have to was apparently compelling enough for at least 2% more people to want to open up that email and dive in. Integrated messaging is obviously a bonus. Anybody who got that email gets retargeted with the ads that go with it. So if you don't download that piece, you're going to see Angry Matt again on Facebook while you're trying to look at pictures of food. And don't be afraid to brainstorm. This idea only came out because we were spitballing stupid ideas about how we were going to promote this guide that we had. We had no idea what we were going to use for messaging, and just somebody brought up the subject of we made our CFO angry so you don't have to. And it ended up being one of the best emails that we've sent out in the past little while. So lessons learned on that one. Again, humor works. Know your audience as well. Obviously, some people aren't going to respond as well to humor as others, but we figured everyone has a CFO, and if you don't, you're going to have one eventually. And so making fun of making them mad worked. Yeah.
Could you explain integrated messaging
Yeah, so sorry, integrated messaging idea is just that when you get that email, you're going to see a Facebook ad that's very similar to it. And we actually had banner ads that ran in the same way. We find if we have ads that go with a particular campaign that are totally different content, those ads have a lower click-through rate when we retarget the audience of people that got this email. So a lot of email tools and a lot of retargeting tools let you put a little pixel in your email so you can actually retarget ads to that list of people that have received that email. And maybe they didn't download the guide that you're asking them to download. Maybe they didn't click through on the link that you wanted them to click through. We have found that tying the messaging of the ads that we serve to them afterwards to the messaging of the original email is much, much, much more effective than making up new ads entirely. So it actually saves us a lot of creative energy because we can take a successful email, build ads out of it that work, and in some cases vice versa. So we ran the Facebook ads first this time and then ran the emails afterwards, and it worked out really well. Yes, sir.
When you say you're doing testing, what volume do you feel is a good test?
That's tough. I mean, it depends on the size of your audience. We split our list 50-50, and I think it was well into the thousands. I don't remember exactly how many folks that one went out to. But essentially, you know, we've got sort of a big pool of leads that we send out new content to. If we're going to split test something, we literally just divide the list in half and send one to one half, one to the other half, because that way we've got that sort of, you know, baseline numbers and whether or not that really, really worked. You know, 50-50 is a good number. MailChimp actually has a cool feature now that lets you say, okay, the first half of my list, 25% of those people are going to get this email, 25% of people are going to get this email. Whichever one wins, the other 50% of that list is going to get. So a lot of these tools automate that process for you. They'll take your list size and chop it up into beautiful little test lists for you. Pardot does that as well, which is how we're able to do that so quickly. And we test a lot of our emails, which you're going to find out more about in a sec. Yes. I was going to get water, but I am listening.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I noticed, like, from myself personally, like, the different email lists that I'm on, there's two of them that kind of stand out in my mind that whenever I get an email, I always open it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize the main reason for that is just they're so irreverent. They're just like, they just say what's on their mind, right? One of them is Jason Capital, he's a dating guru from the US, and the other one is Ben Settle, who's an email marketer actually. So, and they're just so irreverent about what they say, and it just grabs your attention, you just can't look away. You know?
It works, yeah. I mean, I get bajillions of emails for online commerce stores that I sign up for. I bought a skateboard pretty recently, and that company sent me an email with the subject line, "Everything is 50% off, shut up and give us your money." And I clicked, because it was funny. It was the only email in my entire inbox that actually stood out. I'm not saying you should tell your prospects to shut up and give you their money, because depending on your industry, that might not work at all. But for me, it worked. It worked really, really well. And so I agree, you know, sometimes, especially in terms of subject lines, because subject line is 9 times out of 10, sometimes the only thing that people will see before they click delete. I check a lot of emails off and just say, forget it. I'm not opening that at all. And so our objective is A, to get people into the email itself, and then B, once they're there, you know, either make them laugh, make them feel something, make them excited about whatever we're talking about, or just kind of make them, like, you know, put their face down and be like, oh man, I can't believe you said that. Why not? I'll click and download it. Any emotional response is a good emotional response. Except anger. That one doesn't usually end well. But yes.
I know the email retargeting is getting really, really big now. And so can you maybe explain a little bit more about how you actually do this? So people open emails,
Yep.
kind of create a retargeting list towards them. And are you running retargeting on the landing page itself?
Yeah, we are. So we do a little bit of both. We use a product called Perfect Audience. That just happens to be the one that we use. There are dozens of other products out there that do it. We use Perfect Audience because that's what our growth hackers set that up.
Do you run kind of custom audience in Facebook afterwards?
Yes, yeah, we do. Yeah, so they'll actually, Perfect Audience does newsfeed ads really, really well, retargeting for it. So that's the only stuff that I'm in charge of. We also do some banner ads and stuff as well, which there's a guy on our team named Ummer. And if you want to know more about how all of our retargeting efforts work, talk to me afterwards and I'll introduce you to him. Because he does most of it.
Is this sort of like downfill, like, you know, people actually get duplicating ads because they see the open email and they got them on a landing page and they actually read emails, they will probably see the ad 3 times from 3 different
That I'm not sure. Good question. I know the only real differentiation that we do is if you've already downloaded whatever we wanted you to download from it, you're added to a separate list so you don't see those ads anymore. Essentially, so you get kind of shut down on it. Yeah, you can segment things out a little bit. I usually try not to run against more than one list at a time. So it's like if I've got an ad for this particular campaign, it would really only be people who got the email and went to the landing page but didn't download it. And then the objective is still the same: get them back to the landing page and get them to download our asset.
By convergence, you mean actual download.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that I focus on here is email related only. I could do a whole other talk on how we optimize our landing pages for better or for worse. But I wanted to just kind of focus on the email side of things, just for the sake of making sure that we didn't dive too deep. And so the next thing I want to talk about is our second story of the day. It's called Work Smarter, Not Harder. And I'm going to talk to you about sloths for 1 second. Sloths are extremely important creatures. This is Space Sloth. He is my personal hero. He is living proof that if you follow your dreams, you can do anything. So sloths, they live in the rainforest. If you've ever seen, there's an Animal Planet show called Two Cute Sloths. It's about a sloth sanctuary. It is smack in the middle of Costa Rica. You have to drive like 9 hours to get to it. But sloths are very unique because they eat the leaves that kind of hang down in the rainforest. And if you know anything about rainforest, everything is trying to eat the leaves in the rainforest. Most of the animals that live there are herbivores. So the leaves themselves are extremely tough. They're not easy things to eat. They're very hard to digest. You and I could not eat them. We would get sick. They would cut up insides. And so sloths eat these leaves, but they had to evolve to be a little bit special. And I promise you it's a joke at the end of this. Sloths could evolve in one of two ways. They could either get better stomachs, make them more efficient, break down those leaves faster, become better at eating, or they could evolve to do less. And if you've ever seen sloths, they spend 80% of their day hanging from a tree. Fun fact, they poop once a week. So they evolved to do less. And we took a page out of this for one of our email campaigns, which is blog emails. If you guys have a blog, how many people have a subscribe button on your blog? People can like type their email address in and get emails for it, stuff like that. We do. It's got thousands and thousands of subscribers, which we are extremely excited about. This is the latest blog email that we sent out fairly recently. It was a blog post on tofu, which is top of funnel, and then there's bofu, which is bottom of funnel, acronyms. So we send out one of these for every single post that we write, but we had a bit of a conundrum. We first started doing this in January 2014. That was the day that we added the subscribe button to our blog. We wanted to entice people into reading posts. We wanted to give them an exciting piece of content that was like, yes, I want to jump in and read that blog post. And so we would write a little customized content snippet for every single email that didn't have any of the text from the blog post in it, any of that kind of stuff. And 150 emails later, you can imagine this got very, very time consuming because you basically write a blog post, you write a subject line, and then you write a new part of that blog post for the email every single time. So our hypothesis in this case was, does custom content matter that much? Or can we evolve to be sloths a little bit here? And so we decided to test out a theory. We had two versions of the same email. The one on the left here is our traditional emails. We wrote whole new custom content for it. Very, very exciting. These had the same subject line. I don't remember what it was, and of course it's not in here because that would be too easy. The one on the right is the first two paragraphs of the blog post itself, and then a little button at the bottom that says keep reading. And lo and behold, the first email had a great open rate. These are people who have signed up for our blogs. We get a much higher open rate than we do for like our general emails. People have opted into this. The open rate on this one was 22.5%. Click-through rate was 23%. But the email where we just copied and pasted the first two paragraphs of the blog post mysteriously had a higher open rate, but more importantly, had a higher click-through rate. CTO is click to open, so we take it as a percentage of the people who opened the email. This is the percentage of people who clicked. It's a much nicer number than click-through rate, trying to figure out how many people you sent it to versus the number of people that clicked. So click to open is our general measure. This one had a higher click to open rate, which was very, very interesting because this one took far, far less to develop than this one. Not convinced that we had actually nailed this process, we decided to do it again 2 weeks later. So again, same emails. This one was for a holiday blog post, hence Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, very exciting. This email on the left here, totally custom content. The email on the right, first two paragraphs of the blog post, and the button that says keep reading. 18% open rate, 12% click-through rate. It is the holidays. I don't read stuff around Christmas time. I'm too busy eating and running around with family. But lo and behold as well, 21% open rate and a 12.7% click-through rate. This email only did marginally better than this email here. But the important thing to note about this test is we didn't need this email to blow this one out of the water. We just needed it to do as well as the first one. Because the point of this wasn't to optimize this email to make the click-through rate this explosive, amazing number. It was to make us do less work so that these emails could go out faster and we could free up more of our content marketers' time to do more important things. And so first email had a slightly better CTO, second email had a slightly better CTO, not groundbreaking or earth-shattering numbers, but The first email takes us 30 minutes to write because it was more custom content, it had to be formatted properly. The second email takes 5 minutes. Copy and paste the first 2 blog post paragraphs, put a keep reading button at the bottom, make sure the image works. And the moral of the story on this one is that these are the click-through rates and the open rates for the past 3 months since we started doing this cool initiative where we just take the first 2 paragraphs of the blog post and shove them in the email. You can see they have peaks and valleys. Some blog posts perform better than others. But the very, very important fact is it looks a lot like this graph, which is the 6 months prior to when we started doing it. There's not a whole lot of difference between these two. Some blog posts did amazing. I don't know which blog post this one was, but apparently 36% of people wanted to read it, which is really awesome. But there was no real diminishing return on us just using the first 2 paragraphs of the blog, as opposed to writing brand new custom content. And another important thing, which one of our customers actually mentioned, was they like getting emails that have the first 2 paragraphs of the blog post, because by the time they get to the blog post itself, they're already invested in it. They've read part of that post already. They're excited about the content. When you write custom content for your email, people could be really, really enticed by the sentence you wrote, get to the blog post, and be like, nah, I don't really like this at all. And then their time on page goes to zip because they click away and they don't come back. So it allowed us, essentially, to shave 25 minutes of work per task on every blog post that we send out. The moral of the story was, for us, don't do extra work if you don't have to. Don't believe your first split test. We actually did 4 of those, so I showed you the one from the beginning and the one from the end. There were 2 sandwiched in the middle of that, just because we wanted to confirm that this theory actually was true. Pick one thing and test it if you really want results. So the subject lines were exactly the same. The images were exactly the same. The only thing that changed was that little bit of content and how we were distributing that content. But more importantly, saving 25 minutes per task adds up really fast when you post 3 blog posts a week, every week for the entire year. Essentially, it worked out to our content team basically having about an hour and 20 minutes a week that they weren't spending on something that wasn't actually doing any better than just posting what we already had written. So I wanted to go back to my sloth analogy. I kind of made a big joke out of that, but in this case, we evolved to do less and got really, really great returns out of it, because now our content team has at least 1 hour a week back that they didn't have before December when we tried this experiment out. So, if there's any parts of your content that you can find a way to automate, if there's any parts of your content that is already doing the task that you need it to do, take a few minutes, run some experiments, and find those little niche opportunities, because the savings you get on it can be massive. We have 2 content marketers now. We've grown our team from 1, and now we're putting out sometimes 5 blog posts a week. And the fact that we're saving 25 minutes per blog post means they have much, much, much more time to do things in their given day. So that is story number 2. Any questions on that? That one's a little more straightforward. It was more just sort of a, yes?
What was that second definition again of the CTO?
Oh, sorry, yeah, the click to open rate. So basically of the percentage, like of 100% of people who opened the email, that's the percentage of people who clicked. Click-through rates are tough sometimes because we'll send out emails to like 15,000 people, but that email will be very targeted, so we'll have a small percentage of people that open it and then an even smaller number of people who actually clicked. But if you look at, say, 100 people opening it, 15 people clicking on it, 15% is a good number. If it went out to 1,000, now you've got 1.5% of people who clicked. So we use click to open because it gives us a better idea of the number of people who actually made it into the email, how many people actually interacted with that piece of asset. I'm gonna go over here. Yep.
That's a really great example, and congrats on saving time, because that's really important. I'm curious though, I love testing, and I agree with you that it's important to test one thing at a time. In your examples, you changed 2 things though. You changed your content and you changed your call to action, your keep reading button at the bottom.
Agreed.
So I think the result is the same, and that, well, in terms of it saved time. So it's either because of the content or the
because of the
reading
call to
button.
action, yeah.
Did you happen to test that CTA on your other content to see
The
if
keep
that
reading?
improved? Yeah, the keep reading.
Yeah,
CTA.
actually, I don't have an example of it, but we were doing something very similar for our newsletters. So like all the little calls to action at the end of, like, how you get like a newsletter and there's like 5 little content hunks. All of those were essentially sort of little rewritten content segments. We basically started picking one of like the best lines out of each blog post and just copying and paste that directly in. And we use keep reading for the CTA on every single one of those. And we actually did find that conversions went up ever so slightly with that as well. So it's not something we've tested very heavily, and you're absolutely right. We technically tested 2 things. The content was different and the call to action was very different. But in this case, we really just kind of wanted to see, does this concept work? And so we ran 4 tests against it. And each one of them had a basically very similar result. There was no up or down between the 2. And so that was what kind of got us thinking that maybe we could just start using the same CTA for every single one of them. And so far, we haven't seen a big drop. I mean, like on this chart, go back here. one further, because this is the old one. You know, some emails do better than others. We always have at least 10%, aside from some of the ones, you know, this one went out right at the beginning of December. I think that one accidentally went out on a weekend, which is why it had really crappy open and click-through rate. And then the most recent one there at the end of February. But we always get at least 10% click-through rate. There are people who've opted in already. So, you know, the stats themselves didn't change a whole lot between the two graphs, and that was something we were pretty excited about. So, yes.
Is the audience list for different tests the same, or you're testing different people?
In this case, so I think on our blog list, we've got a couple thousand people. It was the same idea, we just divided it in half. So the blog list is a very special list for us. We don't actually nurture them with any other content. They have subscribed to our blog, and so we treat them like gold. And we don't send them any other content pieces. And so that was why it was very important for us to try and optimize that process, because they've opted into the content, they're already excited about what they're reading. We just wanted to make sure that they were actually feeling compelled to click on those links and read through
Okay,
the blog.
because you're testing the concept, I'm just wondering if there's any possibility if, you know, people you kept testing on actually sharing the same, you know, similar reading pattern, and that's why they like the keep reading thing.
That I'm not sure. I know that when you're split testing things in Pardot, it'll randomize the list, so it doesn't like, sometimes what we were doing in MailChimp before MailChimp introduced the whole like you can split test things feature is I would take the list from like A to whatever and make sure that that was roughly 50% of the list size, and then take whatever to Z in terms of what their email address started with. But we realized after a while that we were essentially testing the exact same segments over and over and over again, and that wasn't a very good test. So Pardot will randomize it, so will MailChimp. It'll essentially create two completely randomized lists of the emails. And so each of those 4 tests that we sent out had a different pool of testees, essentially. So one at the back, and then I'll get you as well. Yes?
So in your opinion, do you think it's better to, in every email, have both content and pitch or call to action? Or is it better to have, let's say, like 3 content emails and one, then the 4th one is more focused on, let's say, like making the sale, and then another 3 content emails, etc. So which one do you think works better?
In terms of this, our blogs never have a sales message to them because those folks will get notifications on the blog to opt into other lists. So if you come to our blog, sometimes you get a pop-up being like, hey, you might like this content piece. If you sign up for that content piece, we got you. You're going to get other content pieces.
Let's say we're actually offering the product.
Yeah, so actually that brings a good point. So our nurture track, our first nurture track, follows a very similar pattern of our current one. We send generally 3 to 5 emails. Before we'll send out an email that's kind of a little more personalized from a salesperson asking if they're interested in a follow-up. And so 3 to 5 is roughly the number that we choose. Some things we'll do a much longer nurture track for, especially for events, like if we know we've got a lot of content that relates to that topic. Sometimes we get event lists of people that we haven't actually talked to just by virtue of the registration process. And so for those folks, we'll go a little bit longer. But for people who just sign up for a content piece, usually they'll get about 3 to 5 emails before they'll get a message directly from one of our salespeople. And they actually personalize those. None of that part is automated. Salesforce kind of flips them a little switch and says, you should follow up with this person because they're ready. And then that salesperson writes in their own words what they want to say, and that goes out. And then if that conversation happens, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And you had a question as well, I think. Somebody over here.
I think you answered it. I just wasn't clear that you were reusing your blog post, but it was different target that was reading your blog post than your target you already had reading it.
Yeah. So this is a list of people who've signed up for like our blog list specifically. So it's a bit of a special list in terms of how we market to them. They only get blog content updates, and they only get these emails whenever we post a blog post. They are universally excluded from all of our other email communications because we don't want to tick them off. But yeah. And the last story of the day I'm going to share is called That's My Name, Please Wear It Out. This ties into the personalization discussion from earlier. This topic references a pretty cool piece of technology developed by one of our partners, but I do explain how you can achieve similar results on the email side without using any of those technology pieces. So everyone loves personalization. The problem with personalization is it's usually lame. You get like, hello, first name, and that's about it. Or, it's like, that's literally the extent of it. Sometimes it ends in horrible disaster, which is this email that I got from somebody about a month ago. I blurred out their information, but it literally said, hello, bracket name, bracket. My name is obliterated, and I'm director of marketing at obliterated. I'm reaching out to see bracket pain point bracket have been for you. Like clearly, I felt bad for him because clearly he wrote a template and accidentally hit send to what I can only hope is millions. He apologized. The person sent an apology about 20 minutes later and had the biggest missed opportunity in email marketing history. If I wrote the apology for this, it would have been, hi, bracket name, bracket, generic apology for terrible marketing failure, bracket, CEO name, bracket. And that would have been my apology. And if I would have got that, all would have been forgiven because I would have laughed hysterically and moved on. But instead, I had to go back and be like, nope, probably not good enough. And the best is like the second CTA, awareness based. I love it. This is a good template for an email, for the record. It's just not good to send out the template. But more importantly, we got this really cool email from Eloqua. We're an Eloqua partner. We integrate with them. They sent us this email actually about a week and a half after I started at the company, which really stood out to me because they used our company name in a very cool way. And the whole concept of the email was that Eloqua is like our business sidekick. And so they got this really great image. They used an image manipulation tool to put our name on the t-shirt. They did this for all of their partners. But it really, really blew me away because it wasn't like, hello, John. It was, our company name inserted directly into an image with a message that actually really, really well supported that. And so it got us thinking, we use a ton of video. We are a video marketing platform. Contrary to all of the emails that I've shown you tonight, 75% of our emails have a video component to them. I happen to show you the Forrester report, which we didn't have a video for, and I happen to show you our blog emails. We don't usually create one video per blog post. I wish I could say that we did, but we only have one video producer at the moment, and he would die. And so video has a huge click-through rate. There's a stat that we have on our site that if you include the word video in your subject line, you automatically get like a 30% increase in clicks. Video within your email, and within our emails especially, is often the most clicked on piece. The way that we do video in email is we'll put a screenshot of the video with a big play button in the middle of it. People click on that and then it takes them to a landing page which then plays the video. The reason that we do this is that more often than not, most email browsing tools, whether it's Gmail, whether it's Outlook, whether it's Lotus Notes, don't actually play video within the email itself. And so we had no world of problems trying to get that to work, and eventually we decided, you know what always works? Images. Link them back to a landing page, and then we can measure the results on it. But we decided, can we personalize video? And it turns out we can. And we worked with one of our partners. They developed a very cool product called Switch Merge. It is literally mail merge for video. You give them a list of names and emails, and they'll pull that into a video. They're also a video production studio, so they work with you to create the video that this goes with. We made the video ourselves because we's fancy, but then we worked with them to do the merging portion of it. And our concept was simple. We had a holiday campaign. We had 12 gifts that people could unwrap by clicking on them. Some of them were white papers. Some of them was a draw to win like a brand spanking new camera. And one of them was literally just to get a $15 Starbucks gift card, which we painstakingly mailed out to people until we ran out. And fun fact, if you go to the Starbucks website, you can just email people gift cards en masse. So you don't have to buy 10,000 gift cards and then hand mail them out. Bad idea. Lessons learned. But anyway, so we had this theory that we could personalize these, the video experience within their email, give them something really, really cool so that you open it up and say, oh my gosh, there's my name on this gift. I wear a pirate hat around the office a lot because we're a tech startup and that's a thing. And so Captain John is what I sign up for whenever I'm testing all of our email stuff, just to separate myself out of the lead pool. So when Pardot picks up that Captain John has signed up for something, it knows not to make me a marketing qualified lead. Do not nurture me. It is John. And so this was an example of the email that I got. And so we decided to test this. So the first email that we sent out, this went out to a small portion of our users. We cut this up into several groups because we wanted to really test and see if this actually worked. This was the email that went out. The subject line, which is not included, I don't think, was 12 marketing gifts for you, period, end of sentence. No name, no anything like that. We made a list, we checked it twice. Check out this video and start unwrapping your presents. The tagline just said you. If you were in the unfortunate pool of people that we decided not to make a cool custom video for, this is what you got. And the click-through rate on it stuff was pretty decent. 10.23% open, click-through rate was 11%. If you remember from what is now an eon ago, when I talked about Angry Matt, not that far off in terms of what we sent it the first time. But we also had this personalized option. And so this is what that email looked like. It said Happy Holidays John instead of Happy Holidays. The subject line said 12 email marketing or 12 video marketing gifts for John. So A, we included the person's name in the subject line, but B, we also had this really, really cool custom video. And so the first group of people that we sent this to, come on, you can do it. I hate this thing. Anyway, having their name in the subject line gave us a 34, almost 35% open rate. But the click to open rate was 40%, which is huge compared to all of the other emails that we've done. People really, really liked seeing their name on that tag. And so once we had kind of proven this worked, I think this went out to like 1,000 people or so. That we then decided to open it up to like our entire list, so thousands upon thousands of people. That one did even better. We had a 54.5% open rate and a 56% click to open rate, which is pretty unheard of. When is the click to open ever higher than the open rate? It's not a thing. And this was the only email we ever had where that happened, aside from the odd blog emails. So for us, this experiment was a huge success. In terms of the landing page itself, the people who had their name on that package converted at a much higher rate than the people who didn't, because once they hit the landing page, they were excited to watch the video. They actually watched it from start to finish. And the way Switch Merge worked is that it would actually include their company name in the video. So when like people are opening gifts and stuff like that, at one point we would pull out a little present and there would be the company name written on the side of it, and they would pass it off to somebody else. That portion of the video, which I can tell you because this is how our software works, had a huge spike in the number of people that rewatched it. So people got really, really excited about seeing their company name on a side of a present once they watched the video. And the landing page itself converted much, much higher. But the moral of the story is that you don't necessarily need to personalize the video itself to achieve these results. Because in reality, when people got this email, the only thing that they were seeing was their name on that name tag. So really, from this perspective, we essentially just mimicked what Eloqua had done for us. They found a way to put our company name on the image. There are a handful of products out there that'll do that. You can feed them an image, give them the section of that image that you want to personalize, and they'll put people's information on whatever mail merge list you give them. And so for all intents and purposes, from the email perspective alone, the two things that really changed this up was, one, we put their name in the subject line, but two, we had their name on the image that went with it. And you can see, even from the people who opened it, huge difference in terms of the volume of people that actually clicked on that link. So 11% of people on the one that just said you, 40%, and then well over 50% of people that actually had their name on it. So from the email perspective alone, all we did was change the image in this case. Is it time consuming if you're not automating the process? Absolutely. Are there ways of automating it so that you can plug stuff in? Uh-oh. Oh, what have I done?
Later.
Just press a lot of buttons. Thank you. There's like 4 buttons on this thing, and somehow I managed to hit the wrong one every single time. So this was an interesting campaign. It was an experiment that we ran for the first time ever. The lesson learned on this one was personalization packs a big punch. Even just the even just the open rate, having the person's name in that subject line, made a huge difference from this campaign. And obviously, this test is a little bit flawed in the sense that we tested a ton of things in one particular email, but for us it was worth it. We had access to a really cool piece of technology. It was very, very new, and it gave us the opportunity to fire that out to a huge volume of people, test whether or not that personalization worked, and lo and behold it did. Be creative, but don't overdo it, and the reason I put that in there is that actually should have said be personal, but don't overdo it. The way marketing works these days is most marketing lists have a creepy volume of data on the people that are in them. There's only so far you can go between creative to creepy. I always really hate when I get an email that's just like, hey John, I see you made these 5 purchases. I'm like, yes, I did, but you did not need to remind me. And fun fact, Amazon remembers every single thing that you've ever looked at on Amazon. So if you go to, there's a website that's terrible things you can buy on Amazon, and if you browse through those things, be prepared to get some very, very weird emails from Amazon. Not gonna get into it, but strange stuff. One of the big lessons that we learned out of this was try new technologies when you have the chance. Some of you folks might remember me from my days back at Sprouter. I used to write about startups very heavily in Toronto. Part of writing about startups is that I had the opportunity to try out a lot of the technologies that they were offering. And some of those things do really, really cool things for your marketing efforts. There are tons of startups that are revolutionizing marketing, and a lot of them are really desperate to get people to actually try their products out with a big audience of people. Sometimes they may only have 500 or 600 people on their own email marketing list. And so if you've got a big audience and you're willing to try something out that's very, very cool, Switch Merge was a product from one of our partners. There are other companies that do that as well. There are companies that'll do the image creation for you. But one of the things that we kind of learned out of this was when you had the opportunity to try something out, especially for a campaign around the holidays, that was also the first time that we'd ever put together a really big holiday campaign. So we decided, what the heck, let's like throw everything behind it, try this really new technology, see if we can just drive as many human beings to that page as possible. And I can attest that the number of stamps that I had to place on Starbucks gift cards, it worked very, very well. But lo and behold, make sure you clean up your lists, because there's nothing worse than A, getting an email that's hello F name, but also B, hello, my name in all caps. Somebody sent me recently an email that was hello Spenceley, John. And I'm like, no, really? This is not that hard. Clean up your lists. We actually went through, so of the thousands of people that we emailed, we literally divided that list among 6 people and sat down and by hand went through and made sure that everyone's first name didn't have any weird characters in it. Sometimes when you import a list, like an accent aigu will become like an ampersand and then the number that is not supposed to be there. So we went through and made sure and validated every single person's first name and their company name to make sure that didn't happen, because we knew if we're putting all this time and effort into this really, really personalized campaign, what would make or break it was the fact that it wasn't really crappy. And so if your name was Jean-Marc and you got something that was like Jean-Marc ampersand 2235CK, you're never going to open another one of our emails ever again, because we've already created a really crappy experience for you. So the last big piece of feedback I have on this is make sure to clean up your lists, because it's very important to do that. Otherwise, you'll end up making people very angry. And so to kind of sum up everything, and I hope we have plenty of time for questions, but if we don't, then I'll be around. The first sort of example that I shared, Angry Matt, the biggest thing we learned from that is make people feel something. If you can make people laugh, even about topics that aren't necessarily the most exciting, Forrester reports are not exciting. They're very informative and they're very well written, but I don't wake up in the morning, punch the sheets off and say, I gotta get that new Forrester report. Yes! No, it doesn't happen. So, it's one of those things like we decided to try and make people get excited about it, and it actually really worked because we made them laugh. And there's a whole branch of psychology when it comes to advertising. The latest thing is sadvertising. If you guys watched that Super Bowl ad with the puppy, like there's a reason you cried when those horses rescued that damn puppy. And it's because they wanted you to cry and they wanted you to feel sad. The second example is find ways to optimize or automate some of your creative content. You're already putting a ton of effort into your blog posts, your emails, etc. If you can find ways to reuse that content without making it weird or without making it redundant, we were developing a ton of extra content that it turned out we didn't need to. And taking that out didn't necessarily skyrocket our click-through rates or our open rates, but it didn't detriment them either. And that was the most important lesson we learned out of that. And then finally, people love being surprised in a good way. Whether it's me getting an email from Eloqua with our name on a t-shirt of like a superhero, or somebody getting an email from one of you folks in their inbox that just has a level of personalization that they're not used to, that's fun and that's creative, it goes a long way to optimizing your click-through rates, just because everyone gets a million emails a day. I don't know if you guys do. My spam inbox overfloweth. My inbox itself usually overfloweth as well. So when somebody really, really surprises me, I generally talk about it. We got a pile of really, really cool tweets about our Christmas campaign. How often do people take a screenshot of your email and tweet it? It literally never happens, but 2 people did. And so we had some really good champagne when that happened. But that kind of wraps things up. And this is me. If you want more info or if you want to learn a little bit more about what happens after the emails, i.e. once people hit the landing pages. There's a whole barrage of things that we've tested on our landing pages as well. A gentleman that I work with named Amr Shahal handles all of our landing page optimization, and he has done some very, very cool things with personalization too. But because I write all of our emails, I figured I was vaguely qualified to talk about him. And that's VBot. He is our robot mascot. There's a long story. Any questions? I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys learned something at least about some of the fun campaigns that we've run. You and then you. Yes, sir.
Have you guys ever written kind of narrative, kind of story-driven emails with open loops? Like an NLP, they talk about open loops, but I don't know, like I tried applying NLP to email myself. It hasn't worked for me. But I know that it's worked for a lot of like top copywriters in the world, both in email and sales letters. I don't know how it's working in print, but
so we have kind of 2 things. We have one email nurture that's actually very conversational. It comes from VBot. He literally introduces himself as, hello, I'm Vidyard's marketing robot. I'm here to talk to you about this. And you're going to get 5 more emails from me. If you hate that, click here and you won't get them. The other emails that we've experimented with as well are choose your own adventure emails. And so part of what we did for that was we had a list of people from a marketing automation event. We didn't know what marketing automation system they had. We just knew that they were from an event. It was marketing automation. They had signed up and we had their emails, their first name, last name. And so we sent them an email with essentially, like, we'd love to talk to you about how video works in your marketing automation system. Click on the VBot that's right for you. And we had 3 little VBots. One was holding up a sign that said Eloqua. One was holding up a sign that said Acton. One was holding up a sign that said Marketo. It didn't have the highest click-through rate by any means, because I think a lot of the people there weren't using one of those 3 systems. It was a very mixed bag in terms of who was there. But the folks who did click on one of those things, we're then essentially taken to a customized landing page that allowed them to get more information on that specific product. And I think we ended up getting like 10 or 15 demos out of it. So it worked perfectly for what it was intended to do. And from that, we were able to follow up them with more information. So if you click Marketo, the next email that you get would be one of the white papers that we've written about video and marketing automation. And a lot of our content's platform agnostic. We try not to sort of ram that message down people's throats. No matter what video system you're using, no matter what marketing automation system you're using, you'll find value in this white paper. But we were able to target the content a little bit more because they had now put their hand up themselves and said, I use this product. So, yes.
Have you tested length of copy within emails? Like, let's say, 5 sentences versus like a long email. Like, what's your
Yeah,
advice about that?
we find shorter's better, just across the board.
how short do you-
Usually I'll have 1 to 2 sentences. So for the Angry Mad email, this was like 1 to 2 sentences and then 3 bullet points. That's my usual template for a content piece. Because if I can't distill what we've built into 3 bullet points, then it's probably going to take more than 1 email to explain it. And so for that, we put them into sort of 2 chain. Beyond that, most people don't read it. Newsletters are a bit of an exception. Our customer newsletter, so the one that I send out to our customer base, has 8 content pieces in it, and the click-through rate on the bottom one is just as high as the click-through rate on the top one. So obviously people are reading that from start to finish. I guess with newsletters, people do expect it to be a little bit longer. But yeah, I find usually 1 to 2 sentences in terms of a description or an introduction. And another big thing that we found too is we started kind of cutting some of the fluffier lines out of our emails. So I very rarely start things with, everyone knows video marketing is amazing, because no one cares. Get to the point of what the email's about and say like, if you're looking to increase click-through rates on your emails, here's how video can help, and then 3 bullet points, whatever it happens to be. Follow-up question.
And you use MailChimp, right? And you said that other email where you put the Facebook pixel, the remarketing pixel in the actual email, that's done through MailChimp?
So we use Pardot, but you can do it through MailChimp as well. Essentially, whatever retargeting platform you use, usually it'll give you like a little retargeting pixel, and it's just a piece of HTML code you can shove anywhere into the email. And the nice thing about it actually is that a lot of email platforms open up images automatically, so no matter what, as soon as they open it, they know. Some people have to click that little like show images thing, but it's just sort of a standard little piece of HTML code that you can plug in wherever. We are actually reevaluating all of our email templates at this point because we have been using the same email templates for 2.5 years. So we brought somebody on our creative team fairly recently that worked for an email marketing agency, so he's going to help us kind of reevaluate some of the templates and rebuild them. But I know, crazy, right? That's a thing. There are entire agencies that just do email. So he's going to help us kind of reevaluate some of the templates, but whether it's the templates in Pardot, templates in MailChimp, templates in Constant Contact, all you have to do is kind of go to View HTML and then plug that pixel in wherever it fits, and you'll be able to get it from there. And I think you had a question in the back, right? Maybe, maybe not. I saw a hand. No? All right. Thumbs up. Cool. And now we're going to give away a book. Yes?
Do you have any advice on avoiding the spam box and getting filtered there automatically, particularly with like the new tab system and Gmail, and they have sort of promotions? What are you guys doing to prevent that from happening?
A lot of just keeping an eye on our subject lines. We found there have been a few subject lines that have landed us in people's spam folder, and you'll know it immediately because your open rate will be zilch. There'll be just nobody opening up the emails. There are a couple tools. Pardot has this built in, but there are some software tools you can plug your subject line into, and it'll tell you whether or not that would be triggered. In terms of especially Gmail. Gmail is a very tough one. We're a little bit lucky in our marketing in the sense that we tend to primarily market to a B2B audience, so most emails we have are company emails. We do tend to find with Gmail addresses it is a little bit 50-50. All the emails that we send out, we test against like a dummy bank of emails as well. Some Gmail, some Outlook, whatever it happens to be.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, we've got a few dummy accounts that we kind of run it across, especially for big ones. For like the blog emails, it's the same templates. Those just go out on a weekly basis. If it gets filtered, I can't help that. But for some of the bigger campaign emails, so especially for the personalized one, because we were putting people's names into it, and there was the awful possibility that if you're like 1 character off, somebody's going to get a subject line that's like 12 gifts that you can open, comma, F name. We double checked everything and ran it like 100 times against all our dummy accounts just to make sure that it worked. But yeah, in terms of avoiding the spam box, I would say just check your subject lines has been our sort of biggest thing. A lot of times the templates that exist within your email platform are going to be fairly well optimized to keep you from ending up there as well, but don't make your subject line like you want a cruise. Because that I 100% guarantee you'll find your way in a spam filter. Although, funnily enough, we use Google Apps for our email itself, and some of the crap that slides through, I don't understand. And yet some of the stuff that gets filtered as spam is equally a mystery. So
What if you actually are giving away free cruises, then you have to...
then you're in trouble. Yeah, I think that's, if you're legitimately giving away free cruises, then your industry has been tragically ruined by terrible marketers and what's the term I'm looking for? People who call you telemarketers. Whatever it is. We get one of those for our meeting room all the time. It's really funny. Our meeting room is like one of the only actual landline phones in our office. And every now and then it'll ring and it'll be somebody be like, "Hello, I'm looking to speak to Conf." I'm like, "This is a conference room." Then they immediately hang up. It's like the funniest thing in the world. It's the best game in the play. Because it's literally labeled as conference room when you dial into it. Like, look at the thing. Yet they still call us at it anyway. So it looks like we're giving away a book. I'm going to get off the stage now and stop listening to the sound of my own voice. So thank you. And feel free to talk to me if you want more.